On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, construction comes to an end. The ZB26 is back, kinda. We bought thermals, and SIG Sauer finally shoots themselves. Okay, good evening, everybody. This is episode 367 of the John 1911 podcast. Today is Wednesday, March the 19th. It is, checking the watch, 7:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am a little bit behind on getting this episode out. I had a technical issue. The technical issue is I didn't bring my microphone with me when I left the range, so it was here and not there. And so when I got back here, I can do the podcast. So here we are. So this is going to be a solo episode. It's also going to be a fairly quick one. One, because we're behind on it and I want to get it out as soon as possible. Two, it's a solo episode and I don't want to bore everybody. And three, we have a giant storm front coming in, and I guess it just dumped a blizzard on Kraken in Nebraska, and it is now bearing down on the Ohio Valley. And so I don't know if we're going to be losing power or internet out here at the range, and I do not have backup generators installed yet. I was hoping to put that off for maybe a while because the hits just keep on coming with all the construction. So, and I'll circle back to that in a minute. So first thing, those of you that are regulars have probably noticed that Kraken, the Great Khan of Nebraska, that just kind of was a joke. He was out here for about a week, most of a week, before he started up something he's going to be involved in for, I don't know, probably about 10 or 15 weeks. And so he kind of took it as an opportunity to come out here and, shoot some guns and catch up with me and, even make some content. So we have some interesting things that have come up, that he and I have done. Did we shoot as much as I would have liked? No, probably not. But, there was a lot going on and we ran around. I guess the first thing I should probably mention is, if you noticed our social media, is that I took him to AIM Surplus. Those of you that may not realize, John 1911 is in Cincinnati. AIM Surplus is in the greater Cincinnati area, and he'd never been to AIM Surplus. AIM Surplus, I have been dealing with AIM for 20 some years, and those of you in the know are probably wondering, how could that be possible? Because AIM Surplus did not used to deal with people directly. You had to have an FFL, or they dealt with FFLs, or you had to deal with them via mail order. The side of the business that I was on, we would go up there and buy ammo, literally like truckloads of it. They would use a not pallet fork, a forklift to put it into vehicles. And so, it was kind of interesting now to see how they've grown and changed from, they used to be in Middletown, and not that if you're not from around here, you would know where that is. It's a town midway between Cincinnati and Dayton in an industrial park. And then he has gone and, hold on, let me just pause something real quick. Don't know if y'all heard that machine or not, but I had to get up and turn that off, so I had to close the door. So they have grown, and they have now gotten to a point where they've opened up a storefront. You can't go into their entire warehouse, but they have a storefront with cases and displays and ammo, and they've become quite the retail establishment. I don't know how a lot of, I would say, online and retail establishments feel about that, because they have gone from basically being a wholesale distributor to being a direct competitor. So, but that's not my problem. So Kraken, I wanted to take them up there and see the shop. So there's always some interesting things in there. It's not the greatest gun store by far. It's not even close. But they occasionally, if they get some surplus stuff, or they get some police surplus that you'll occasionally see out there on the showroom floor. And of course, if there's something that comes in high dollar, they'll have, if it's in stock and hasn't sold out, they'll always have some examples out there. They still have that Beretta APX run from Brazil I think they're under $300. That's a lot of gun for the money. So, I think they got all of them. So I don't know how many thousands, but, if you're looking for a cheap inexpensively priced but first class made firearm. You know, I don't know a whole lot about the APX. We have one, but you know, I mean, just an example of what they've got up there. Well, Kraken and I are walking around, and I was looking at glass because I'm doing a lot more precision rifle stuff, and I just happened to notice some night vision stuff. And so Kraken and I were kind of looking at it, and the guy was talking to us from behind the counter, and turns out right next to it was thermal. So Hollow Sun, the people that are known for making Chinese inexpensive / cheap, as opposed to inexpensive, you know, / quality Beretta APX pistols, these Hollow Sun optics. And I've never had anything from Hollow Sun, and I do know that over the years, and people that I respect have come out and said that Hollow Sun, the numbers, trying to understand a Hollow Sun model number is like trying to understand the make and model number of like Russian submarines. That's why we have to hang NATO names on them, because it's just like 93K under lowercase r47P. It's like just these crazy freaking names. And so I don't know what it is, but I've opened my heart to possibly maybe someday, you know, as a secondary, optic, maybe a Hollow Sun. So it turns out Hollow Sun is making thermal red dots. It's a red dot and a thermal. And so it's the DR, they're in the safe, DR something -TH. TH is thermal. So Kraken and I each bought one, $1,700 out the door. It's like $1,800 and like literally pennies. I think it was a fair price. And Kraken, we went up that night, or no, it was the next night because we couldn't get them charged right away. We went up into the Coyote door, and actually I dug out a animal call that I had bought years ago. Literally, I had purchased this animal call from Cabela's. It was on sale, and I remember it was a fair amount of money. Like I think it was like $400, $500 animal call, and it literally is in the original packaging. And it's been with John 1911. It was in the large office, and then it went to a new office where we did a build out. Then it went to another office where we did a build out, and now we're here. And you know, we built this facility here at the range, and so I'm thinking, I don't know. I was like, I don't know, maybe COVID. Like, I don't know how long I've had that thing. I was like, well, it's got to be longer than COVID. I look at the USPS date on it. It was 2014. I had bought this thing, and it's been 11 years. Literally, it has the original packing tape on it, and I'm like, man, I hope this thing works. Then I hope it doesn't have batteries that have like corroded. So anyway, fortunately, we got it set up. Kraken kind of did a little hand holding on telling me how to use these animal calls and best practices. You know, for example, he said best to put it up on a tripod so it'll go farther. And we went up into the Coyote door and tried to call in a coyote. Something did come in. I saw it, and what was interesting for me, because this is the first time I've ever been coyote hunting, is Kraken warned me. He's probably listening to this right now. Kraken warned me because I was thinking, you know, a coyote was kind of going to be like I don't know how I imagine like turkey hunting is. Like a gobble gobble, going to stand there, look around, sniff around, come in. And he said, no, these things are going to come in like a streak of lightning. They're going to try to run down what they think is dying prey, and they're going to come barreling in, and it's going to happen quick, and they're going to come right up to the call. And I saw this blob run down on the rifle in the dark, and saw this blob running down, and then it went down into like near creek bottom and was trying to circle around and then come up across the rifle range and up where we had the animal call. If you're familiar with our property, which many of you are, the animal call was sitting right at the back of the pit. So if you ever see videos where I've got the falling plate rack and there's like the Wilson IDP humanoid style target, like that little bank of targets. It was to the right of that. And so we're up on the second floor of the barn, and this thing, man, this thing was moving. And I didn't take a shot at it because I probably started seeing it at 300 yards, and I really couldn't make out what it was. Again, it's hollow sun. It's not like this really nice stuff. And so also I questioned the size. It could have been a coyote, could have been a fox. It was something where I was like, I don't want to shoot one of the neighbor's dogs or something. So anyway, it apparently had gone down, circled up, and I'm talking to Kraken. I'm making too much noise, and I'm shuffling around, and it never came up to the animal call. And Kraken thinks it busted me, not him. I could say us to be, to be, try to not take blame for it, but it busted me. So, and what was also interesting is Kraken was telling me with coyote hunting was that, you're calling in one of these animals, you've got 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, until like it's kind of played out. Either they're not around or they're not going to come. I thought that was interesting. I don't know many of you if you've got a lot of experience with coyote hunting. So if I said something completely wrong, or maybe I'm misrepresenting what Kraken said, don't kill the messenger. At least don't whack him, whack me. So, but what was interesting was I can pretty much coyote hunt here at the John 9th Range. I mean, I could literally finish this podcast, throw an animal call up, and just go crawl up that ladder and sit up there in the heated, air-conditioned space and, coyote hunt for 30 minutes and see what comes up to things. So that was interesting. We'll do more with this hollow sun thermal. It was, $1,800. I'm going to warn you now. We're not gear reviewers. I'm not going to tell you to buy this thing. I'm not going to tell you to not buy this thing. We got to play with it. It's not $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 or $7,000, but it also is probably kind of like more like an $1,800, optic. So, stay tuned. We'll film some stuff with it. We'll do some stuff and content, and maybe you guys can decide for yourself if this is something you want to dip your toe into. I have been super curious about thermal, night vision and thermal for a number of years, primarily because I'm around all these SWAT cops all the time. And, I remember when they were showing up with stuff 15 years ago, and it was $25,000 night vision. And I remember Officer Mike had shown up out here one time. I'm trying to remember who made it, but he's got this standard, I don't remember if it was an AI gun or a Gardner gap gun, but he had this device that he literally bolted on to the front of his regular daylight scope. And, he could, I think it was a night vision, not thermal. And all of a sudden he's got night vision and on his precision rifle, because he's actually a police sniper. And, that thing was $13,000, and it was like, holy shit. And then, I got to play with a little bit of the nods and the laser pointers and all that with a different officer, John. I guess I can say your first name. So, it's been something I've been curious about, but I'm not really, my interest in night vision right now is really more just hunting. I don't know if I'm going to be wearing, nods and a helmet, because it's the best way to mount the nods and doing all that. I mean, I know a lot of guys that do hunting end up doing that. And so I'm just dipping my toe. It's this little cheap scope. I put it on the Gemtech Integra integrally suppressed AR with a 10-inch barrel, so you really can't reach out. I'll probably throw it on a Blaser with like a 243, 24-inch, 20-inch barrel. Try to play with that a little bit, and then just kind of see what I like and see how it goes, and we'll produce some content. There is apparently in this hollow sun optic, there is an option to record, and I guess I hit the button to record. I have yet to know how to get any of that off. I haven't tried it yet, so maybe we'll do some testing with all that as well as we're doing more stuff from the Coyote Door. Speaking of hunting, Doc has finished up his winter, I guess he's a snowbird now, if this is like probably his third year. He's a snowbird, and he spends his winters in Arizona, and then when he wraps up, what he does is he slowly makes his way back east here to Ohio, and he goes on hunting trips. and we posted, it went up early this morning. The reason I know is because I was up when I posted it. Photographs from him being in Texas shooting pigs. I think he's using a SIG Cross. I think that's one of those SIG Cross rifles. It's in 6.5, and good looking pig. I mean, Doc is what, 78, 79 now. He's out living his best life, living the life I need to start living at some point and stop all this construction nonsense. So the goal is in 2025, and we've been kind of hitting it, is you're going to start seeing a lot more hunting content on John 1911. We've got, with the construction and way things have been going around here for now a year, and then moving the office, and then all of that kind of stuff, and the things were changing. I feel like it's been a struggle to maintain the publishing schedule, but we're kind of getting through some of that. But one area that I've always been really, frankly, insecure about is the hunting content. We've got gunsmithing, DIY, gun repair, precision rifle shooting, performance-based shooting with handguns, military surplus collecting and some shooting, all that kind of stuff. We've got the podcast, pictures of the day. Sometimes we do some politics on that. But the one area where we've always been really the weakest is hunting, because I have never been a big hunter. I'm not against hunting. I just haven't really done it. I think I've shot 4 or 5 deer in my life, 4 deer. And a pig, I'm engaging more people to do some hunting and produce content for us. There's one person in particular I have very high hopes for. He can't do it often because, look, we all have to live our lives, married or jobs or careers or responsibilities. But this person, I think he's probably listening to the podcast. I have some of his video of him shooting with thermal, and let me tell you what, buddy, his thermal scope is way better, way better than the Holosun. And I just got to kind of put it together, put it up, show him how we would like to present it, and then see if he'd be interested in giving us some more high quality hunting content, 2, 3, 4 times a year, whenever it strikes his fancy. But it's some good stuff. So stand by if you feel like we're light on the hunting. You're going to be seeing more hunting in 2025. Well, I guess I better get into some of the stuff that's going on around here at the John 1911 range. The Amish are back. We have more construction that's been going on out here since November. And so we've also had, and it's interesting because, we have Amish, and there's different contractors, and they're all Amish, but some of them are obviously more Amish than other Amish, or maybe that's like a different sect of Amish. So none of them drive their own vehicle. Well, no, there's one that does drive his own vehicle, I believe. But some of them seem pretty worldly, and some of them are like bicycles and straw hats, and I can't talk to the girls. So, it's fine. But they'll never hear the podcast, so I don't have to worry about it. But I love them. I love all the Amish. So one thing we had to have the Amish come out and do is put some more spray foam up above the living quarters, and also put the spray foam basically around the coyote door. So there was some debate about how I was going to handle the environment up there. I thought about closing off the entire thing and foaming the entire floor, basically the attic of the living quarters or the floor of the coyote door room. And, but there's no HVAC up there if I do that. And that could, I could bring a heater up there or whatever if I wanted, but that would create a situation. I was warned that, I could get like a humidity mold buildup up there if no one's up there opening stuff up for a long period of time. So we just went ahead and we sealed up some stuff and really got it tight. And so now those contractors are out of this section of the barn. And so I'm starting to put more of like the weapons and like, things like display. There'll be pictures like, we've got the rocket launcher collection. There's the Khyber Pass guns from Pakistan, Afghanistan. There's a prayer rug with AK-47s on it. There's stuff from the Civil War. There's Ohio National Guard stuff from the Civil War. There's stuff from World War I. There's just all kinds of stuff that I haven't wanted to put out because I've got all these people coming through here in this area, and I don't, necessarily want to advertise that kind of stuff is here. So we'll be, putting more pictures and stuff of that up, and we're kind of finally wrapping up most of the construction and settling in with things we want to do here with our shooting schedule in 2025. However, there is a coinky-dink that has popped up with that. We had a driveway put in from the street to the barn, and then, that's essentially a road. I mean, it's hundreds of yards, and, it's got like this dense road base, DRB or whatever you want to call it, and we got a gate and power and cameras and all that kind of stuff. Well, since we're out here a lot more, that means the grass is getting used a lot more. And so I've decided that I need to basically build a parking lot next to the barn that's off the porch, so we can come in and out of the porch. People can pull up to the porch. They can park vehicles. Like if the cops are out here, we can go in and out of the front door. We don't have to come through the, where the tractor is and all that kind of stuff. And also, I need from that parking pad, and it'll be a fairly large parking pad. I need a road that goes down to the pit that will have a culvert bridge over it, the shooting pit that we always shoot in, and then it'll Y off and go straight to the picnic shelter or the shooting shelter that you see on our rifle range. Well, talking to our dirt work guy, not Amish, they're the people like the D8 bulldozer. They've got all this stuff. Talking to them, and it became evident. One, it was going to be expensive. Things are getting more expensive, and I pay for convenience. I understand expense. I mean, I'm not trying to throw money away, but if you can, I'll pay you a lot of money, but you got to get it done fast. Well, the problem is what happens, and I've been through this, which is why 2024 was so rough here at the John 1911 range, is you get these dudes, and whether it's the Amish, I'm not kicking the Amish. The Amish do great, but they're just busy. Or these other people like electricians, dirt work people, plumbers, gutter people, that kind of stuff. And what happens is getting people to come this far out, because we're obviously the range is not in the middle of Cincinnati, getting people to come this far out is a challenge. A lot of people, it's not worth their time, higher end contractors that I would normally deal with, to drive all the way out to the John 1911 range. So I'm forced to deal with the economics and the market that's out here at the range. Well, that's why I have to deal with the Amish. The Amish are very high quality. They're also quite expensive, which is fine. They do what they can when they can. But the dirt work guys, there's not that many higher end dirt work guys out here. And so these dirt work guys are the same dirt work guys that they build the pits for us, they do the roads, they dig the foundations, they trench for, fiber and water, and they do all this other kind of stuff. But also when the local cities or towns around here, if there's a burst water main or there's a project to resurface a street, and they're going to farm it out to an outside contractor, I'm competing with those people. So what ends up happening is, talking to the dirt work people, I go, hey, I guess you guys are probably pretty busy. And the guy's like, yeah, we're pretty busy, but we're trying to expand. And I'm like, yep, I know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to come out here. They'll do some skim work. They'll take some of the topsoil off. They'll do something. They'll cut the pad, or they won't cut the road to the pit, and then they'll be gone for weeks at a time. And then, then there'll be a weather delay, and there'll be this and there'll be that. And I'm just like, I am not going to find myself in July of 2025 sitting around my thumb up my ass like I have been for 2024. So I was like, you know what? It's just a parking pad and a road that goes to the shooting areas. It's not like it's a road that people would come in on that, is like kind of like really important. Like it's just, come on, it's just me and, my cop buddies. So I've got 11,000, 12,000 pound tractor. I just called the Massey Ferguson dealer and said, what kind of attachments do you think I need to best build a road around here? And they were like, you need this. They were like, well, don't you have this? And they're like, no, you sold me this for the other thing. And they're like, well, come down here and get this. So ran down, got a giant ass box blade, literally yesterday, had them drop it onto my Tundra on top of that cover, bring it here, and told the dirt work people, you know, sorry, but you know, we're just going to handle this in-house going forward. You know, like, you guys are busy, but we got to have it done. And, you know, like, I had to drop this big ass box blade out there, you know, it's kind of the front of the property. I wouldn't be surprised if the dirt work people are driving by and they can see that box blade. They were not, I'm not going to say they weren't happy, but, you know, they were trying to tell me how the box blade was going to make a giant mess. And, you know, I can certainly see that. You know, it's not a skid steer. I'm going to try to do what I can, you know, around here. And I've got a bucket and a box blade. And if it gets out of control, maybe I can just go down and rent a skid steer from one of the local supply places and just, you know, finish it up myself. But I can do it when I want, how I want. For example, today we had a bunch of rain out here in the Ohio Valley about a week or so, about 4 or 5 days ago, like 3 inches of rain. It was really bad. And you know, like, we couldn't even have gravel dropped out here if we wanted, but it's been windy and it dried out. And today it's pretty dry, at least here at the tops of the hills. I mean, I'm not set up to do this, but I could have, if I had that box blade all set up and the top link all adjusted, I mean, I could have scraped out, you know, a parking pad and up next to the barn today before the storm blows in tonight. And I wouldn't have had to, I'm not competing with Walmart or the city sewer system or repaving the road or, you know, whatever big giant utility thing. So I'm hoping to kind of wrap up some of the construction. We're going to do some stuff ourselves. It does give me an opportunity to publish a lot more tractor content. And, you know, I love the tractor. And I think a lot of people, what's interesting is, you know, we run a gun range where John 1911, you know, we do all that. But I notice that the tractor content brings in all new people. And all those people tend to be gun guys, but they never heard of us. But when they're looking for tractors or they're looking for Massey Ferguson, they find our website, they find our social media, and they kind of discover us. I'm like, well, hell, you know, we got all this money tied up in this stuff. Why don't I do it myself, get it done on my own schedule? I can film it, make content with it, and bring in a new audience, and for the price of just, you know, effort. So you know, that's kind of where we are with some construction. So once I start building the roads, the Amish, I have another group of Amish have to come in and do some interior trim work in another wing of the barn. And then after that, Lord willing, the last thing that has to happen is an electrician has to come back. And yeah, that's, you know, he's not Amish, no surprise there. Not Amish, Mr. Electrician. But he is probably my biggest problem child for disappearing. So we'll see if he ends up completing this job. But that's kind of where we're at with the construction. It's coming to an end. We're grabbing the bull by the horns. 2025 is going to be about shooting guns, maybe some tractor content, but construction is basically over. Well, you know, since we're gun people, maybe we should start talking about guns, right? So first thing is old business. The ZB26, it's basically a Bren version of a Bren gun, is back. It's the parts kit that we've been trying to get built for over 3 years. ZB26 is a Czech medium machine gun. This one went to China. I think it probably was an 8mm, and then they converted it to 7.62x39. It takes AK magazines. It's a pretty cool gun, pretty rare kit, especially in the United States, worth a fair amount of money. It has been with the 07 for 3 years and whatever months, and it's been honestly sitting for 2 years and whatever, well, 2.5 years. With the same problem not getting addressed, and there's an issue with the firing pin. So we decided to finally call it, and we went over and took the ZB26 off the 07's books, and we're going to try to deal with the firing pin issue ourselves. We haven't, I ran over there, picked it up, transferred it, and I haven't even touched it. I probably won't even be able to touch it for another couple weeks or maybe a couple months, because I got to finish some stuff around here. But I don't even know if it runs. I don't even know if it blows up. I mean, I'll tell you this. I knew when they put the kit together that it was running full automatic, because I saw the video, and then they had to convert it to semi, and I believe that conversion is what's causing the issue. And I believe he told me that it works, but it breaks firing pins. And so I'm hoping to talk to somebody. I'm not going to name you now, but talk to someone to do some hand holding. And I can already kind of see the writing on the wall on the ZB26 that I'm going to end up having to send this to a different 07 to finish the project. And hopefully it's not, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's not, just like, oh, you just got to adjust your riboflavin levels on the whatever and just clickety-click. And the firing pin, you got to design it like this, because it's semi-auto and it works like it's something easy, as opposed to like, man, this thing is a disaster, or it's dangerous, or who knows. So that's where we're at with the ZB26. I have followed the Staccato HD release. Why wouldn't I? The Staccato HD is Staccato's approach to the problem that all of us who've been in this game for a long time know, that the 2011 is a dumpster fire of a gun. This is going to come as a shock to a lot of people that are probably under the age of probably 50. I mean, probably 40. If you were a competitive shooter and you're under the age of 40, you may not even really truly understand how bad 2011s were. Like, I mean, just in the magazines, and just, people were running them 38 Super, sometimes running them in 40. Just these guns were just claptrap, disaster, nightmare guns. And so, people, if you're a performance-based shooter, but you also have to kind of, carry on the street or carry for a job or carry for self-defense, 2011s they were a no-go. I mean, I'm telling you, it was like, imagine the worst gun you can think of, like a Barca, or I don't know, like just a High Point. Like, I'm telling you, 2011s had the reputation almost of a High Point, because there's all these deficiencies. Wilson addresses it. They decided to develop the X9 guns, which I absolutely love. These guns are the best double-stacked 1911 style guns in the game. Basically, it looks like Staccato came out with their HD gun, and they're trying to solve the 2011 problems that, but they wanted to come up with their own system. And, it's in essence you kind of the same way that, you're trying to do what Wilson did. I don't think they executed it quite as well. I think the way Staccato did the barrel lockup is more like a 2011, which I think is a huge mistake. But, apparently these guns aren't really running quite well enough to figure that out. Staccato, my understanding, this could have changed, but Staccato apparently succumbed to the siren song of, quote, does it take Glock mags? And there's one thing you're going to learn in life if you've dealt with customers and dealt with customer service and dealt with having to, deal with people, is the customer is not always right. Many times the customer is wrong. And, Staccato decided that they were going to make a gun that took Glock mags, because even, and there's going to be some of you out there going to be listening to this. You're going to be like, Marky, it doesn't matter, like it was the cops that asked for the Glock mags, or the Delta guys that asked for the Glock mags, or the Special Forces guys that asked for the Glock mags. Well, they were Staccato's learning their lesson. So what did Staccato do? Staccato, they in essence, to get this to work with this gun, the quote takes Glock mags, had to have a metal Glock mag made so you can get more rounds in it, and also so it would drop free more easily from the gun. And there's also the issue of the magazine release. So you've got, well, apparently these steel Glock mags, they're Glock format, but they're not Glock magazines. And so You know, you've got issues where they tear up the magazine releases. Real Glock mags in the HD guns don't really work that well. And then the staccato metal Glock mags, with my air quotes, don't really work that well in Glocks. So in essence, Staccato has taken the HD, they've made a custom magazine that's kind of sort of a Glock mag, but you wouldn't want to use it in Glocks. And if you're an HD guy and you're real serious about it, you're probably not going to run your plastic Glock mags in the HD gun. So Staccato's getting fucked coming and going with this. So they can tell people it takes Glock magazines, but they're still basically dealing with problems with proprietary magazine, but it's not working that good. Wilson faced this problem, and Wilson decided they looked, I'm sure, I wasn't privy to Wilson's testing on their X9 gun, but look at the Hudson H9. Hudson decided to use the Smith & Wesson 59 series tube. Wilson looked around because they needed a 9mm tube, and I guess they had determined that the Walther PPQ magazine and magazine tube was very well designed, and so they literally took a PPQ mag body, they put a different follower in it, and I think they different location for the the mag catch and all that, and you get these incredible 18-round magazines for the Wilson X9 guns. I have never ever had a Wilson X9 magazine go tits up on me. Never had it fail to lock open, have a problem. I've never cleaned these mags. The one gun's 11,000 rounds. The other one, the Division 77. These guns, they're just, it's a non-issue. Like, one thing when you're dealing with a gun and you're shooting a lot, whether you're competing or you're carrying, what you want from the Glock mag, from guns, is just like with the Glock mag. It's a non-issue. You just don't even think about the magazines because the magazines aren't a freaking problem. Staccato with these HD things and this stupid magazine, at some point, I think Staccato's probably going to have to accept reality that they're going to have to start tweaking. Maybe they're going to have to tweak their magazines. So, people are going to have to tweak their magazines to maybe be a little bit more proprietary, or people are going to have to get over this idea that it takes Glock magazines when it kind of really doesn't. And they're getting kind of kicked on that a little bit. So do I know if the Staccato HD's succeeding? I don't know. I imagine it is. I think people that want to shoot a 2011, but they have certain restrictions, and they're not 2011 people, yeah, they'll buy that gun. I think a lot of people, my impression is, that are like really high-end 2011 people, and they get the HD gun, they're like, yeah, yuck, I'd rather go back to a 2011. So, I don't know if it's going to be a success or not, but I just thought the magazine thing really got my attention, and watching what was happening with that, I was like, man, I'm sure I would hope Staccato didn't just make that decision willy-nilly. I hope they had thought about it, and at least, because if they just didn't really think about it and decided to do it, then now they're having problems. They kind of deserve it. So, but this issue hasn't really taken over the gun industry or the culture right now as much as the SIG P320 issues. So I, like all of you, have seen did it say it stops the SIG lawyers or somebody, I guess if I have the timeline correct, we all know about the SIG P320 issues. They were going off if you dropped them. They were blowing up out of battery, and now I call it holster popping. They're going off in holsters without the trigger being actuated. They're going off in holsters, and there's a debate whether the trigger's being actuated or whether the sear's dropping. And there's a ton of lawsuits. And what's happening is you've got different people, whether they're SIG fanboys or they're not SIG fanboys, or they're SIG curious or not. Not everybody is privy to all the information of what's going on, and frankly, a lot of this is SIG's fault, because I'm fairly certain there's a problem with this gun. Now, it may be, I can look, I'm about to throw some buzzwords around or some bullshit phrases that are going to, could be this or like tolerance stacking or, out of spec this or whatnot. I personally think the guns are probably getting twisted. I think that fire control group, I think that's what it is. I think the vibration twisting, but that's no, I don't know this. I've never even owned a P320, but SIG, whatever the issue is, SIG certainly knows what it is. But SIG is not admitting there's a problem, and SIG has been doing these rolling changes to various guns, and they won't issue. They did like this voluntary recall, So if you think you had an answer from a year ago, and then you have an answer from 6 months ago, and then you have an answer from 3 months ago, then you have an answer from a month ago, then you have an answer from a week ago, then you have an answer from a day ago, a lot of times these answers aren't the same. So if you were certain what you knew back then in ancient history of 6 months ago, things have really changed. And SIG, there is some debate, or I guess there's some theories. People are saying that, I guess there was a lawsuit in Puerto Rico, and I guess they got a cop to suddenly, right before they went to trial, the cop to come out and issue a statement or submit a document saying that this gun is safe. But that also appears that maybe they might have paid the cop off. Don't sue me, SIG. This is what we're hearing. I'm hearing it from other people. I don't know if it's true. You've got some wins, you've got some losses. There's absolutely lawsuits that, SIG has lost. There's like $11 million one or $20 million one. And, there's also videos of holster pops where there is nobody touching that gun. And these guns are going off in holsters. And then, what kind of did it for me was when we were hearing about the M18, M17, the military issued guns with the external thumb safety, because that's kind of, you'll notice we've never had a SIG gun in our reference, a P320 in our reference collection, or an M17 or an M18. I almost got an M17 at one point because I was like, it's a service pistol. We'll probably start interfacing with them. Cops will probably start carrying them. Where I used to work, they definitely interface with them with the military. That's why Doc's got one. It was like almost there, and I'd see him coming in. I'd see him being surplus, and I just decided it just wasn't something worth, I just had a kind of a wait-and-see attitude. And then I started hearing about holster pops and issues with military-issue guns, and it's like, yeah, we're out. These guns are banned. And we predicted a while ago when school resource officers were getting shot by these guns that the gun's in trouble. Do I have any more inside information as to what's going on or not going on with the SIG compared to a lot of you? No, frankly, a lot of you probably know way more than I do. Since we've kind of come out publicly and started asking questions about these guns, we've had a number of legal folks, sometimes they're lawyers, sometimes they're paralegals, sometimes they're just representing a firm, asking us for, where did we find this or where did we find that? Because they are representing people that they're suing SIG. We've had, I think, 3 reach out to us in the past 10 days over this. It's not that we have a lot of inside information. It's just we were able to predict, it was over a year ago, that this gun's probably going to be done. Because, something's going to happen with SIG. Either there's going to have to be a mea culpa moment, there's going to have to be a recall, there's going to have to be an acknowledgement there's a problem, and they're going to have to roll a new version of this gun, the SIG P320A1, just like the 1911A1, or the M17A1, M18A1, or this gun's just going to stop selling. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have risk-adverse organizations. Like John 1911, we are an organization. I'm not claiming we're big, but, we're an organization. There's more than just me over here, and, but I have to kind of think about other people. And, I can have a SIG, 320, and I could even maybe do some stuff like, maybe I just won't carry it in a holster chambered. I'll just play with it, do whatever. But if I'm going to have people here shooting and they're running around, then there's some dude on the range with a holstered chambered gun, and there's a chance this gun could go off, that could be a bad day for us. And I can't control that. I mean, we kind of live in a world where holster up and make safe. With a gun, and whether it's hot or not, if it's in a holster, we kind of like to operate as if a gun is in a holster, it's safe. Whether it's pointing at your foot or pointing at your butt or pointing at your crotch, it's not actively pointing, it's passively pointing because it's safe in a holster. Now, I, as an organization, have to face the reality. I don't know what's going on. I don't have all the answers. I'm seeing news reports. I'm hearing complaints. People, gun nerds with lots of opinions. And basically, it's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here, but this shit is banned off my property until someone else smarter than me can figure out what the fuck is going on. That logic is moving through the industry. PTA girls are going to be talking to, in their little Facebook groups. They're going to be going to the boards of education. They're going to be going to the police chiefs in their towns. They're going to be the principals. Do you know little Susie and little Ricky, their school resource officer at their school, is carrying a gun that people are getting sued over, and there's all this drama. And politicians and elected officials and a lot of these gypsy chiefs, police chiefs that are politically motivated to go on to the next job, are basically going to start making decisions, and they're going to look at their training staff, they're going to look at their training cadre, they're going to look at whoever they say and be like, pick a different fucking gun. I don't care, nerd. I don't want to hear about HK. I don't want to hear about SIG. I don't want to hear about this or Delta Force that or, Space Shuttle Door Gunner. Don't make the gun my biggest fucking problem in life. And that's because basically it's going to be like, pick any gun than this one. And if you're a gun dork, some police chief's going to be like, pick any gun than this one. And if you're a gun dork, pick a good one except for this one. And if you don't solve this problem, I'm going to pick the fucking gun. And the SIG guys and the gun guys and people in our community, because you're all into the guns and I'm just like you, I can see that, but I've dealt with organizations. I've dealt with bureaucracies. This gun has such stink on it. And then with all of these people now talking about it, what solicitor, city solicitor, what city attorney, what, in-house counsel, like once the lawyers start seeing the stuff on the LexisNexis searches with, there's lawsuits and this and that, this gun is done. This gun is so fucking done. And I don't care what you think about SIG. I don't care about, you've never had a problem and you've got all these rounds. That's not the problem. The problem is there's a question mark on this gun and SIG doesn't want to give an answer. And, 1% of these guns, there's supposedly 3 million of these guns out there, and just these random lightning bolt accidents happen. And then once somebody gets hurt, opposing counsel is going to come in and they're going to be like, what did you know? When did you know it? Did you hear? Remember when you got that email from the girl at the PTA complaining about your officer carrying this gun, and now that officer is now suing because he was injured by that same gun? Like, this is a nightmare for organizations. This has transcended guns, gun channels, gun people, gun dorks. This gun's over. And then the nightmare scenario, nobody's talking about this, is we have a president right now named Donald J. Trump. And I'm not claiming I know a lot about Donald Trump or that I understand a lot about Donald Trump, but one thing seems abundantly clear. Whether you like Trump or you hate Trump, I like Trump, I think he's funny, is that dude watches television and he seems to consume media outside of his presidential daily brief. People start complaining about shit in the news, he hears about it. For some reason, he reacts to it. We're even seeing examples that he is reacting to certain gun channels, or people in his administration are reacting to certain gun channels and making changes. And so heaven help SIG and heaven help people that are flag waving or jersey waving whether this gun works or doesn't work like it's some kind of stupid football game. If Donald Trump gets whiff of this gun and he gets all high and mighty about it, like, we should have the best gun, we have the best soldiers, we're the best, why don't we have great guns? We're a great country. Make our sidearm great again. He could literally just swan dive into this and just order the Secretary of Defense to shit can this fucking thing. And nobody's going to be able to stop him. And that's the nightmare, is because when the PTA girls and the police chiefs and the plaintiffs' lawyers and the trial lawyers and, local 5, 9, 12 ABC is doing stories on these dangerous guns, then Donald Trump finds out that this dangerous gun is also being carried by the very soldiers in the room he's with. Oh, Lord help us. This could get ugly fast. Watch out. 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for SIG. I don't know. Maybe something will come out. SIG will come clean on what the problem is. They'll be able to identify it, package it, execute a plan to do the 320A1, M17A1, or definitively dispute and defeat these questions and prove that everything is wrong, and maybe we were all wrong, like everybody's wrong on COVID. Maybe everyone's wrong about the SIG P320, just like COVID, okay? Which seems fanciful, but until it's not. But, at what point, it's a parent company of SIG, because I got news for you, SIG is a parent company. It's L&O in Europe. And I believe L&O is owned by one guy. I think he might have a company that owns it. But, SIG is probably their biggest moneymaker. But when they start writing these checks for $11 million and they're writing all these lawsuits and they start hearing in Europe, I am suspicious that the parent company of SIG, which is in Europe, it's not SIG Europe, it's L&O, they're not seeing the media as it is here in the U.S. I'm suspicious that L&O doesn't realize how out of control this is yet. And I think with the media picking up on this and then the settlements that are getting bigger, there's no way at some point L&O in Europe's going to notice this. I think Ron Cohen, the CEO of SIG USA, will not last the year. And I think it's probably fair to assume, and it is an assumption, I could be wrong, but I think it'd be fair to assume at this point, this is so out of control, that the reason why there isn't a mea culpa moment and a SIG P320A1 solution to this problem is because Ron Cohen, for some reason, doesn't want to do it. Because I think it's the only example I've got here, because I am a business person. The CEO of SIG, for some reason, is dying on these hills again and again and again, because maybe he's trying to save his own job. Maybe he doesn't want to admit there's a problem because he may have to throw himself on the sword. Because at some point, the way SIG is behaving with this is insane. I mean, I'm pretty well known for shitting on H&K for running their company like dog shit. Like the corporate mismanagement of how H&K ran themselves for years, they have really started to turn around. Making the decisions, financial decisions, product decisions, market decisions, such a poorly run company, it's almost criminal. I mean, almost you could file a civil case if you were an investor in H&K on how retarded that company was run. Right now, SIG is really batting 1,000 about to bypass the old HK because this makes no sense. They're going to have to get, the fact that SIG, because this, and I'm going to circle back to what a lot of you guys know. This letter, it ends today or it ends now, whatever it even was. I mean, it's fairly safe to assume that a 25-year-old social media person didn't just type that up and publish it. That was probably put out a coordinated message with legal counsel, probably was put out with coordinated message from the C-suite of SIG, their vice presidents, executive vice presidents, however that all works over there, possibly a board if they have a board, maybe even outside counsel if they've had to hire trial attorneys. And they did that. And it's insane the way they're operating. Their motivation, the question is, like, everyone, all the people who are obsessed with this gun and this issue, I am looking at this, I'm like, I'm not that, like, it's obvious that there's a problem with the gun, or there's obvious that the gun has a reputation problem. It's one of two issues. Either the gun's fucked up or it's not fucked up. It's pretty binary at this point. It's not a debate. But the issue is, I don't understand why SIG is operating the way they're operating. I mean, they are not getting ahead of this. They're getting behind it. And lawsuits are coming. Dash cam videos are coming. Body cam videos are coming. Surveillance videos are already out there. The stuff that's been going on in the military is coming out. There's surveillance video now coming out of what's going on with the M17, M18. Like, oh man, like, I don't understand what's going on here. And I think if I can't understand what's going on here with the leadership at SIG, at some point L&O is going to be looking at this going, what the fuck is going on over there in America? And they're going to start firing people. Shoo, let's get off that. So let's talk about something positive, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So I've noticed that Larry Vickers has been publishing more on social media. I know I don't know if he owns this website called Firearms Friday, or whether he's got a marketing agreement with them, but then he's also been doing more stuff with Bravo Company, BCM, I think Tango Down. He's still doing stuff with them, but he's starting to come out. He's actually making videos. And so I'm not seeing Larry with guns, but, many of us are hoping that Larry Vickers somehow can find a way forward. I've looked at some of the case, and if you add up all the charges, if I remember, I don't have it in front of me, but he was exposed to, I think, 25 years. But, last I checked, he hadn't been sentenced. When I started seeing him popping up on social media the past probably 2.5, 3 weeks, like actively making videos, I was like, well, maybe he's been sentenced and maybe he's got some kind of agreement. Maybe they've, it's a real light sentence and he's not a convicted felon, or maybe he's, all this other kind of stuff. I don't know. Like, there could be some kind of cooperation. There's something going on with Larry, and I'm hoping Larry can come back to the industry somehow. And, it's a positive story. And so I want to end on a positive note. So whether obviously I'm not going to judge Larry on what he did. The gun laws are bullshit that he was dealing with. He, within the context of those laws, he got greedy. But I, as a gun collector, could be easily just as greedy, trying to make stuff work. I'm not, I can certainly see, people doing that. So I'm not judging Larry. I just hope Larry can come back. And if any of you get a chance, it looks like Larry obviously wants the traffic. Follow Larry Vickers, like, comment, subscribe to anything he's putting out, because he certainly wants it. And let's hope 2025 is a better year for all of us all around on a lot of fronts. Well, that's going to wrap it up for episode 367 of the John 1911 podcast. You want to see more stories or pictures and links and stuff like this, please go to the website at john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun, not getting shot in the foot by your gun. Everybody, have a good night.